Hello, everyone. My name is Laura Scholes, previously Laura Wider. I got married in November, so you'll notice that my name has changed wherever it is. And I am with Michael Kutch.
Hello.
We are here today to talk about the recent market update. We have missed the last couple of weeks due to the holidays, so we are here for the 2022 end of year recap as well as what's been going on the last few weeks. And just as a reminder, everything in this video is for educational purposes only. None of this should be taken as recommendations. However, each individual has their own set plan and all own circumstances. So please give us a call. We'd be happy to review all of that with you. So with that being said, Mike, I've missed this Friday Live over the last few weeks. What's been going on with the market?
Yeah, it's good to be back on Friday Live. We took a couple of weeks off. I'm also glad to turn the page on 2022. It was a pretty rough one for markets. So year-end price action was pretty muted. We had limited economic data that came out and relatively low trading volume, which is pretty typical for that time of year. The Santa Claus period has officially ended. It does run into the first, I think, 2 trading days of the new year. However, we're still kind of in that same tight trading range we've been in for the past few weeks. Now, although the page is turned on the new year, markets are still facing a lot of the same headwinds. Inflation is way too high, and it's going to cause the Fed to remain restrictive for most of this year. Earnings are likely to fall further, and we're seeing declines in some parts of the economy, but not in certain areas where the Fed needs to see in order to stop increasing those rate hikes. So today I'm going to cover a few different economic data points that we got this week, which really kind of sums up the economic picture we are in. Housing continues to slow down rapidly. Manufacturing, we got the ISM manufacturing data this week. It fell further into contractionary territory. That's pretty consistent with the slowdown in the global economy in the manufacturing segment. We're not far from that kind of pivot mark, the 50 level. I think it came in at like 48. So it is technically contractionary territory, but it hasn't really fallen off a cliff yet. The new orders component of that was a little weaker than the headline number. That was around 45. However, the bright spot of the report was and has been that prices paid continues to decline. So that kind of runs into the whole theme that we've probably seen peak inflation, and that should continue to decelerate. Now, turning to the jobs market, which is really the key metric for determining what the Fed is likely to do in the coming year. The labor market is still way too strong to be consistent with the Fed's long-term inflation target of 2%. Inflation can likely fall to under 4% in the next 12 to 18 months. However, without that deceleration in wages, 2% will be very hard to achieve. The data released this week showed that job openings and quit rates remain near historically high levels, and layoffs are near historical low levels. The unemployment rate ticked down 0.2 to 3.5%. We did see an uptick in participation rate, which is a good thing, and a reduction in wage growth. That wage growth component is really what the Fed is focusing on. Now, on an annualized basis, that ticked down from 5.1% to 4.6%. So that's really a good step in the right direction. The question will be whether that number continues to decelerate in the coming months. For that to happen, we really need to see a reduction in the job openings, which is still over 10 million, and an increase in the participation rate. Alternatively, or coinciding with that, the unemployment rate could go up. The Fed is determined to get back to their inflation targets. I think 17 of the 19 members see at least the terminal rate where they'll end up getting beyond 5%, and no member sees a rate cut in 2023. So that really differs with what the market is anticipating. They see rate cuts happening in the back half of 2023, which would be a good thing for markets as long as the economy wasn't really falling off the cliff. That's kind of the challenging thing with that. Probably the only way they're really going to cut rates is if they really see the economic numbers deteriorate, specifically the labor market. But they can definitely change their views pretty quickly. I think they've lost a lot of credibility in their forecasting abilities in the last 18 months. If you remember 18 months ago, they weren't anticipating any rate hikes in 2022, and we saw how that turned out.
The opposite.
Turning to the S&P 500 from a technical perspective, we're pretty far, relatively far below that 200-day downward sloping moving average. As long as we're below that level, and even more so below 3,900 level, it makes me think that downside is more likely in the near term. But overall, this year is probably going to be a pretty range-bound market, especially for the next 6 months, trading between the October lows and December highs. Right now, cyclicals and defensives are certainly outperforming their growth counterparts. However, I'm a little cautious to put too much of an overweight position to cyclicals. We're likely going to have substantial economic slowdown this year. Whether we get a recession or not, those sectors tend to do worse in those type of environments. Now, our portfolios are still reflecting more of a cautious stance. We still have pretty elevated cash levels. So if we get back down to those October lows, I'll likely put some of that cash to work. And if we get extended rallies, I'm likely to take some of that off the table in the future. So that's kind of how we're positioning.
Wow, that's a lot. And I know a lot of families have been hurting over the last couple of months with, the inflation being so high and interest rate increases. So I'm hoping we get a little bit of relief on one of those edges. So hopefully that inflation comes down. And I keep seeing, Mike, have you been seeing these memes about prices of eggs? Like one was like, if I hit the lottery, you'll know. And it's like a shopping cart of like 15 dozen eggs. Like eggs are so expensive right now. They just make me laugh so much.
They really are. What are they, like $7 a dozen?
They're pretty high. I think I just paid $6 for a dozen of eggs.
It's ridiculous.
So families could certainly use the relief. And then, with the pain in everybody's pockets right now in New Year's resolutions, I was doing a little bit of research this morning on New Year's resolutions. But first, Mike, do you have any New Year's resolutions?
I really don't do the whole New Year's resolution thing. I try to do exercise, watch my diet on a consistent basis. I think those are two of the main ones people try to hit in the new year. I'm not always great at the diet part, but so it's more of a continuing theme than a New Year's resolution. How about you, Laura?
I do. I'm one of those on the bandwagon people. So I'm jumping on the bandwagon, and I am going to try and close my Apple Watch rings every single day. So I'm going to start for the month of January because the year just seemed a little intimidating. So I'm just going to do January for right now and see how that goes. But with that being said, the top 3 New Year's resolutions are exercise more, eat healthier, and save money. And
I didn't even see that list before saying that.
And then this is surprising. So how many people do you think actually jump off the bandwagon in just the first week?
Are you looking for a percentage?
Percentage.
I would go with 35%.
Okay, you're close. It was 25%. 25% of people do not keep their New Year's resolutions for at least 1 week, which is crazy. And actually only about 9 to 12% keep them long-term throughout the whole year. So with all of that being said, if you're looking to save money or for money saving tips, you've come to the right place. Today, I'm going to be talking a little bit about how if saving money or just having a better overall financial situation for you and your family, you've come to the right place. We're going to talk about some tips. So the first one, and we're going to make sure that this is long-term. This is not a 1 week thing. This is definitely long-term tips that you can use year over year. So number 1, we've hit a couple of times. It is increase your 401k retirement contributions. So this is really good for everybody, but it's really good for people who just kind of spend their whole paycheck. And, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just who you are. And if it automatically puts it right into your 401k, it doesn't even hit your bank account. So you don't even have a chance to spend it. Next, kind of the same idea. You can actually, instead of having your whole paycheck sent to your bank account, you can have a portion of that, even like $100, go directly to your savings account. That way it doesn't hit your bank account and you're not responsible for moving it and saying like, oh, well, I could use a new pair of shoes. I've been starting running with my New Year's resolution and everything. Doesn't even hit your bank account. It goes right to your savings account. And then a lot of our younger clients too, we tell them to track their budget, like track their spending for like 2 months. Write down everything that you're spending. And it's really eye-opening because you may think like, oh, I only spend like $2,000 a month, when really an average family is spending like $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month, depending on bills, kids, and activities and stuff like that. So obviously the things that we don't want to hear: $10 Starbucks trips every single morning. Try to make it once or twice a week. We're not saying cut it out. Once or twice a week. Mike, do you ever go to Starbucks?
I don't.
No? Dunkin' Donuts? Anything?
No.
You're an at-home coffee
everyone
maker?
Can take all that savings from the Starbucks and get a gym membership.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Here's another one: going out to dinner too often. Not only is that going to save you money, that's also going to help with the other New Year's resolution of getting healthy and fit. And then something my new hubby and I recently just did is combining insurance. We got the multi-car discount. We have the homeowners insurance discount now too. That can save you some money month to month. Paying down debt with a debt snowball. We've explained that here before. That's listing out all of your debt from the highest amount of debt, which is typically your mortgage, to the lowest amount of debt, which might be like a Best Buy credit card, something that you bought a new TV on and has like $1,000 on it. And you start paying that off from the lowest to the highest amount of debt. And then once that minimum payment on the lowest portion of that debt is paid off, you just roll it over to the next one, so to the second highest one, and it helps you pay off your debt quicker and more efficiently. As always, we like to see, emergency fund of 6 to 12 months of expenses, and we always want to make sure wills and powers of attorneys are updated. Now, something else I want to mention is adding like transfer of death, TODs, to your bank accounts, because, if something were to happen to you, that money would go directly to your beneficiary. It's just like a beneficiary, but for like your bank checking and savings account. It would go right to your beneficiary instead of the probate going through the estate, which can be timely and expensive. So it just helps all around. And then lastly, I have a couple of ratios that you guys can do at home, some financial ratios, and you can Google these. Like if you don't write it down right now, if you're at work or whatever, you can Google these, super easy, just to kind of see where you are, you and your family. So the consumer debt ratio, that is taking all of your non-housing monthly debt payments and you divide it by your monthly gross income. Now, that's like just kind of all of your debt that doesn't include your home, like your mortgage and stuff like that. And that should be less than 20%. The next one is the housing cost ratio, which is all your monthly non-discretionary house costs. And that includes your principal and interest, mortgage payments, property taxes, homeowners insurance, and any like HOA fees or anything like that. You divide that by your monthly gross income, and that should be less than 28%. And then finally, the debt to income ratio is all minimum monthly payments. So anything like parking, travel expenses, home insurance, car payments, including all of your home debt payments as well. the ones we just covered. You can divide that by your monthly gross income, and that should be less than 36%. So just a quick couple of calculations that you can do on your own at home to track your financial position. But as always, we would love to speak with you guys individually and, work on a financial plan with you. Okie dokie. Well, that was a great first week back on Friday Live. And next week, we're actually going to be talking about the Secure Act 2.0. So there's a lot of new updates in the financial industry that we're going to discuss. And then Mike's going to be here giving us another market update. Hopefully Mike, hopefully you can give us some good news that eggs are less expensive next week.
Well, we will get that inflation data next week, so I'll let you know.
Nice. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Okay, bye.
Bye.